We don't yet know whether it was Israel that was behind this. We can assume that it was, because Israel does have the greatest interest to strike at Hezbollah, degrade its capabilities. There has been growing escalation tension over the last few days in particular, but definitely in the last few months in general. This is the stuff of, spy legends to some extent, to be able to penetrate at such a vast scale so many of these communication devices, whether they're phones or pagers, we don't exactly yet know. But we've seen videos of people at supermarkets or, at a fruit stand, and suddenly something in their pocket or bag explodes. Hundreds, if not more, of Hezbollah operatives were carrying these wireless communication devices. We don't yet know how Israel did this, if it was Israel or whoever did it, how they did it. Were they able to sabotage and booby-trap all of these communication devices at once before they were delivered to Hezbollah and give them faulty devices with explosives inside? Or did they somehow manage to increase the battery heat and lead to their explosion, which would also be quite sophisticated cyber technology and a type of cyber attack, which we really haven't seen much of in the past. So this is pretty significant. The big question, though, David, is what's next? How will Hezbollah retaliate? Will this lead to a larger escalation? And what does this mean for the fears that everyone has been having about the possibility of a regional war? Well, I think it really depends on what happens next. Because, for example, if you are going to be attacking your enemy in a wider, larger way, to be able to take out all communications devices and neutralize a large number of, let's say, some of their frontline fighters, this is a good way to do that before a larger scale offensive. But if you're not going to do that, then you have to ask yourself, why would Israel do this? I've seen people call this just a nice parlor trick. I would think it's more than just a parlor trick if this was Israel or whoever it was. But because this does send a message to Hezbollah, it shows Hezbollah that it is vulnerable. It shows Hezbollah that it has been penetrated by someone and some sophisticated, advanced intelligence espionage agency organization. So it also, to some extent, has to make Hezbollah think twice before it goes to a wider confrontation with Israel or anyone else, because they are vulnerable and they have weaknesses and other potential vulnerabilities that could be leveraged and used by their adversary, maybe in this case, the state of Israel. So this also could potentially boost deterrence against Hezbollah from pushing towards a wider war.
What we know still is very dicey. We know that somewhere between hundreds and over 1,000 Hezbollah operatives have been injured. There's reports that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon is also among the casualties. There are reports of similar explosions in Syria. We can assume that Israel is behind this. The Israelis have not confirmed this yet, but they do have the ability to execute something like this. We know that they penetrated Hezbollah's organizational apparatus quite deeply. I mean, the ability to assassinate Fuad Shukr almost a month ago, or over a month ago, rather, by luring him to his demise with a cell phone call just minutes prior to his death, demonstrates their ability to reach even the most shadowy of Hezbollah's commanders, their ability to assassinate Radwan force commanders who were anonymous, virtually anonymous until the time of their death. The Israelis have penetrated Hezbollah's organizational structure, and so they have the ability to do something like that.
And of course, Israel's security agencies are well versed in making use of the absolute latest technology in which to pull something like this off.
Absolutely. This is something, I mean, they've been innovative. Innovation has been the hallmark of Israel's military and intelligence efforts since the outset of the state. A small country will be set by enemies, few natural resources. And so innovation has had to compensate for, a lot of the luxuries, if you will, that other countries may have, either sizable populations, vast wealth, or vast territory. So there were reports actually just earlier this morning that Shin Bet, Israel's internal security agency, had foiled an attack, a planned attack by Hezbollah to detonate an explosive device against an Israeli security official remotely from Lebanon. This seems to be, in Hebrew, midah keneged midah, right? A measure for measure. You think you can get one of our guys? Well, look, this is how far we can get you. So stay on notice or be on notice. This may also be part of the first shot in a larger, or the expanding of the campaign, the intensification of the war that we've seen on the north. We look at the sequence of events that have happened in the last few days. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has been saying for over a week that the weight of combat effort is going to shift to the north. There's been friction within the Israeli cabinet over potentially the firing of Yoav Gallant. That seems to have been delayed because of the intensification of fighting with Hezbollah. And just yesterday, the Israeli government set as a new war goal, a goal of the current war, the return of the residents of northern Israel to their homes. This can only be achieved through military means. So this is potentially Israel firing a clandestine first shot in an attempt to get Hezbollah to overreact and fire the first public shot. And in doing so, to gain the legitimacy that Israel needs to fight a larger campaign in Lebanon.